what else did we play that you guys aren't going to see because we didn't record it? And I mentioned it. It's Nerves of Steel by Simon. And it is a talkie game. And they were talking. Let's see, I'd run off to go do something and came back, and they were talking all about how to talk as rules, as randomization, basically. If you have rules for who says what and specify those, what does that do? When is it annoying? When is it fun? And we pulled out, Simon had pulled out his games by my request, and we were looking at them. And this one popped out because that's precisely what its mechanics are. And it is based real heavily on 1940s movies, American movies. So hardcore Humphrey Bogart, film noir, and of the very essential kind, baseline kind. So we got to talking about playing this. There are several roles that are mandated. You just pass out these sheets and you play that role. One of them is Nerves of Steel, who is the detective-ish character. And then there's the Silver Tongue, who's the lying female character, I suppose. Gender is flexible, and I can think of a few Silver Tongue males in the movies. But anyway, so the point is that you've got this Silver Tongue who can tell lies a lot. And then you have something about Shadows, who's the city, the essence of the city itself, which I thought was a cool character. And then there's also kind of a mastermind, organizer, fixer, boss kind of guy or person. And the way it works is with cards, you actually place out playing cards in front of people in different ways. And for most of the characters, they get cards of a certain suit. And those are used as units, like you flip a card. So it's basically on or off for a card. And those units are ways of kinds of fictional content that you're allowed to interpose. The Silver Tongue is a little different. Her cards go in front of other people's cards. And so what it is, and so she basically can call markers on their behavior. And what's kind of interesting too is the rules of what she can do flip regarding that character. Once her card is flipped, she's used that on them. Actually, it's kind of interesting. She can just keep using it. She doesn't have to flip it. But when she chooses to flip it, then she can actually take lethal action toward that character very effectively. So it's really an interesting role. I, of course, seized it. That's why I'm chatting it up. But the Nerves of Steel one is the title of the game for a reason. And this goes to the talking. Each person says what is happening, which is to say, my guy does this, my guy does that, I do this. And, you can role play together back and forth. But all the narrations are from the Nerves of Steel's perspective and voice. So even if you're doing something where the Nerves of Steel isn't there, it's because the Nerves of Steel character has come there and is talking about what they see. That is evidence of it. Or more importantly, the Nerves of Steel character could well be there. So say I'm playing the Silver Tongue, right? And I'm going to narrate this in the voice of Nerves of Steel, that other character. So instead of saying I come out of the nightclub and I go around the corner to meet, that guy, instead, I would say, and this is me, not the Nerves of Steel player, I would say I had waited under the overpass for 2 hours. The car was getting cold. Finally, she came out from the nightclub, looking like a dream framed in the doorway of hell. She paused, looked over the street. She didn't see my car. Then went around to the alley beside the building. And so you're narrating your character's actions as reported by the Nerves of Steel in appropriately atmospheric monologue. And that even applies if you're interacting directly. The Nerves of Steel player might, rap off, "Come on, sister, You're not fooling anybody with that line. And of course, I've got my card in front of him, so he is going to be fooled by my line. But my response would be in Nerves of Steel as past tense narrative. This is all in past tense. And I would say, she laughed in my face, came closer, kissed me, took me by surprise, and then slapped my face. Or something like that. Now, see, that's me playing my character, not the Nerves of Steel person, but I'm stating it in his voice. So, though, everybody's talking as Nerves of Steel all the time, and yet we're playing our characters. And through the agency of the cards, now, unusually for a game with playing cards, you don't, like draw from the deck and then count the numbers and, get a success or fail or something like that. The numbers on the cards, their ranks actually don't matter very much. They are units of activity represented by the card being face up or face down, and of what suit, which is only who owns them. So it's the potential depth and complications of the standard playing cards is used only very minimally. So anyway, we played through a whole thing and had a little interesting time wondering whether, the girl was dead or not, obviously. And, a few other little plot points. Jared's Nerves of Steel character was a broken down alcoholic professor, who couldn't let this one thing go. And, it was fun to watch that you could actually generate a pretty good backstory pretty quick, then proceed from there as plot. So anyway, that was fun too. And I would actually like to try out Nerves of Steel. There are plenty of games that, use this kind of talking. I find many of them unsuccessful in design, often due to various power imbalances and things like that. But this one is in the same realm as Puppetland, which we talked about, in which, as a player character, you have to state what you do as if your character were narrating it. Very unrealistically, instead of saying, I stab him with my knife, the little puppet, you playing your puppet say, I stab you with my knife, and the game master, I believe in Puppetland, narrates everything in past tense. So that's what kind of kicked off our interest, and Simone said, oh, my game does that. So anyway, I would like to play Nerves of Steel more at length sometimes, to see what sort of, dreadfulness we can come up with that isn't just, oh, I saw a noir movie and it looked like this, but actually is, a piece of its own. You play music too, which is, as Simon put it, he says he usually finds music ineffective in role-playing, but in this particular case, he had found a way so that when you start to narrate the beginning of the scene, you've got a bunch of torch songs, and you punch one and start in on it, and you're delivering like that opening monologue, and then I think the music just kind of fades and you keep playing. It was there for its purpose, and then after that you didn't have to monitor it and go, oh well, when they hit a B flat I have to do this or something silly like that. Anyway, that was our fun. Two things we did that you guys won't get to see, unfortunately, but we actually had quite a blast on both, and they were embedded in these meaty conversations. There was a lot of that. All right, look forward to some of the recordings of our played events.